My name is Emma Wilson, and this is the story of how my annoying childhood neighbor became the love of my life. But to understand how we ended up together, you need to know how much we hated each other at the beginning. It all started on a hot summer day in June when I was 7 years old. My family had just moved to Maplewood Street in the suburbs of Portland, Oregon. Our new house was a beautiful 2-story home with a big backyard and a white picket fence. I was excited about the move. My old neighborhood didn't have many children my age, but my mother had told me that Maplewood Street was full of families with kids. "You'll make lots of new friends here, Emma," my mother said as we unpacked boxes in my new bedroom. "I heard the family next door has a son exactly your age." "Really?" I asked excitedly. "What's his name?" "I think they said his name is Jake Morrison." I ran to my bedroom window and looked at the house next door. It was similar to ours, white with blue shutters and a nice yard. I could see a treehouse in their backyard. "Maybe Jake and I will become best friends," I said happily. My mother smiled. "Maybe you will, sweetheart." How wrong we both were. The next day, my mother insisted I go outside and introduce myself to the neighbors. I was a shy child, so this made me nervous, but I wanted to make friends. I walked over to the Morrison house and rang the doorbell. A kind-looking woman with blonde hair answered. "Hello, dear. You must be Emma from next door. I'm Mrs. Morrison, but you can call me Linda." "Nice to meet you, Mrs. Morrison," I said politely. "My mom said you have a son my age." "Yes, Jake, come down here, honey. Emma from next door wants to meet you." I heard thundering footsteps, and then a boy appeared. He had messy brown hair, bright green eyes, and a mischievous smile. He was wearing a Superman t-shirt and jeans with grass stains on the knees. "Hi," he said, looking me up and down. "You're the new girl." "My name is Emma," I said. "What's yours?" "Jake, want to see my treehouse?" "Okay," I said, happy that he was being friendly. We went to his backyard and he climbed up the treehouse ladder. I followed behind him. The treehouse was amazing. It had cushions, some toys, and even a small telescope. "This is so cool," I said, looking around. "I know. My dad built it last year. It's my special place. Usually I don't let girls up here." "Why not?" I asked, confused. "Because girls are annoying, but I guess you're okay. Do you like superheroes?" "I like reading books," I said. Jake made a disgusted face. "Books are boring. I like action figures and video games." "Books aren't boring," I said defensively. "They're adventures. They take you to magical places." "Whatever," Jake said, rolling his eyes. "Girls are weird." That comment made me angry. "Boys are stupid," I shot back. "No, girls are stupid." "You're stupid." "You're stupid." We glared at each other. Our friendship, which had lasted about 5 minutes, was officially over. "Get out of my treehouse," Jake yelled. "Fine. I didn't want to be in your dumb treehouse anyway." I climbed down the ladder and stomped back to my house. When my mother asked how it went, I crossed my arms and said, "Jake Morrison is the meanest boy I've ever met. I hate him." Little did I know, that feeling was mutual and would last for the next 10 years. From that day forward, Jake Morrison and I were enemies. We lived next door to each other, went to the same school, and had the same group of neighborhood friends, which meant we couldn't avoid each other no matter how hard we tried. Jake was always pulling pranks on me. He would hide my bike, put plastic bugs in my lunchbox, and tell everyone at school that I had cooties. I retaliated by accidentally kicking soccer balls at him during recess, telling the teacher when he didn't do his homework, and making fun of his messy hair. Our parents were friends, which made everything worse. They would have dinner together, have barbecues in each other's backyards, and go on camping trips together. This meant Jake and I were forced to spend time together even though we couldn't stand each other. Why do we have to invite the Morrisons? I would complain every time my parents planned something. Because they're our neighbors and our friends, my mother would say. And I don't understand why you and Jake don't get along. You're both such nice children. He's not nice, Mom. He's terrible. But my complaints never changed anything. Jake was a permanent fixture in my life, like a persistent splinter I couldn't remove. Elementary school was a constant battle between Jake and me. We competed over everything: test scores, spelling bee competitions, science fair projects, sports teams. If Jake got an A on a test, I had to get an A+. If I scored a goal in soccer, Jake had to score too. Our teachers noticed our rivalry. In 3rd grade, Mrs. Henderson tried to turn it into something positive by making us compete in academic games. Unfortunately, this just made us more competitive. Emma and Jake, you're both so smart, Mrs. Henderson said one day. Imagine if you worked together instead of against each other. You could accomplish amazing things. Jake and I looked at each other with matching expressions of disgust. Work together? Never. In 4th grade, our teacher, Mr. Peterson, made a terrible mistake. He assigned Jake and me to be partners for a history project about the American Revolution. We had to work together for 3 weeks. It was a disaster. I should write the report because I'm a better writer, I said. No way, I'm doing the writing. You can make the poster, Jake argued. I don't want to make the poster. That's boring. Well, I don't want to make it either. We ended up dividing everything down the middle, working on our separate parts without talking to each other. Somehow, we managed to get an A on the project, but Mr. Peterson said he would never partner us together again. You two are more difficult than a room full of kindergartners, he said, shaking his head. Middle school brought some changes to our neighborhood. We were all growing up, hitting puberty, and becoming more interested in social dynamics than childhood games. Jake started playing on the school basketball team. He got taller, much taller. By 8th grade, he was already 6 feet tall, while I was still just 5 feet 3 inches. He became popular with the other boys and started hanging out with the cool kids. I, meanwhile, joined the debate team and the drama club. I made friends with other academic-minded students. My best friend became Sophie Chen, a smart and funny girl who thought my rivalry with Jake was hilarious. You two are like an old married couple, Sophie would say, laughing. Always fighting, but somehow always together. We are not like a married couple, I would protest. We hate each other. Sure you do, Sophie would say with a knowing smile. I didn't understand what she meant. How could she think Jake and I were anything like a couple? He annoyed me more than anyone else in the world. He was arrogant, immature, and always had something sarcastic to say to me. One memorable incident happened during our 8th grade science fair. Jake and I both entered projects, naturally competing for first place. My project was about the effects of different fertilizers on plant growth. Jake's project was about building a small volcano that actually erupted. During the fair, Jake's volcano malfunctioned and sprayed fake lava, basically just colored baking soda foam, all over my plant display, ruining weeks of careful work and data collection. You did that on purpose, I yelled at him, furious. I did not, it was an accident, Jake insisted, though he was trying not to laugh. You're laughing. You think this is funny. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at the situation. There's a difference. You're the worst person I've ever met, Jake Morrison. And you're the most uptight person I've ever met, Emma Wilson. We stood there glaring at each other, covered in plant dirt and fake lava, until a teacher separated us. Despite the disaster, Jake's volcano project won first place, and my ruined plants got third. I didn't talk to him for 2 months after that, not that he seemed to care. High school changed everything again. Jake became even more popular. He was on the varsity basketball team as a freshman, which was almost unheard of. Girls started noticing him. He had girlfriends, lots of them. Pretty, popular girls who wore makeup and fashionable clothes. I watched this transformation with mixed feelings. On one hand, I didn't care who Jake dated because I didn't like him. On the other hand, seeing him with different girls every few months annoyed me for reasons I didn't understand. I had my own social life too. I dated a few boys, nice. Smart boys who liked literature and could hold intellectual conversations. But none of those relationships lasted more than a few months. Something always felt missing. Jake and I still lived next door to each other. We still saw each other almost every day. We still argued whenever we interacted. But the nature of our arguments changed. We were older now, more mature, supposedly, and our insults became more sophisticated. "Read any boring books lately?" Jake would ask sarcastically when we crossed paths. "Dated any airheads lately?" I would shoot back. "At least I date people. When was your last boyfriend, Emma?" "Last year." Quality over quantity, Jake. Not that you would know anything about quality. Our parents still hoped we would become friends. They didn't understand that some people are just meant to be enemies. In our sophomore year, something happened that temporarily paused our war. Jake's father had a heart attack. Mr. Morrison survived, but he had to stay in the hospital for 2 weeks and then needed months of recovery at home. It was a scary time for the Morrison family. My mother, being the kind person she was, immediately stepped in to help. She cooked meals for the Morrisons, drove Jake to basketball practice when his mother was at the hospital, and did whatever else was needed. I helped too, not because I liked Jake, but because it was the right thing to do. I would bring over the meals my mother cooked and check if they needed anything. One evening, I brought over a casserole and found Jake sitting alone on his front porch. He looked different, vulnerable, worried, not his usual confident self. "Hey," I said awkwardly. "My mom made lasagna. Is your mom home?" "She's at the hospital still," Jake said quietly. "She stays there all day." "Oh, should I just leave this in the kitchen?" "Yeah, thanks." I went inside and put the casserole in the refrigerator. When I came back out, Jake was still sitting there, staring at nothing. Against my better judgment, I sat down beside him. "How's your dad doing?" "Better. The doctors say he'll be okay if he changes his lifestyle, better diet, less stress, more exercise." "That's good news." "Yeah." Jake was quiet for a moment, then added, "It's scary, you know. One day he's fine and the next day he's in the hospital. It made me realize people can just disappear. Life can change in a second." I knew exactly what he meant. Yeah, it's scary. We sat in silence for a few minutes. It was the first time in years we had been together without arguing. "Thanks for helping my family," Jake said finally. "Your mom has been amazing, and you too, I guess." "You guess," I said, raising an eyebrow. He cracked a small smile. "Okay, fine, you've been helpful too. Happy now?" "Very," I said, smiling back. That moment of truce lasted about a week. Then Jake made a joke about my hair looking like a bird's nest. I told him his basketball skills were mediocre, and we were back to normal. But something had shifted, even if neither of us wanted to admit it. Junior year was the most intense year of our rivalry. We were both in advanced placement classes, both competing for the top spots in our class ranking, and both determined to outdo each other. I was ranked third in our class. Jake was ranked fourth. The two students ahead of both of us were brilliant, almost unreachably so, but Jake and I were locked in battle for that third spot. "I'm going to beat you this semester," Jake announced one day when we happened to be at our lockers at the same time. "You wish," I shot back. "I've been ahead of you for 2 years, that's not going to change." "We'll see about that." He wasn't just talk. Jake actually started studying harder. He joined the academic decathlon team. He stayed after school for extra help. He was determined. This made me even more determined. I started waking up at 5 a.m. to study before school. I joined every academic competition I could. I became obsessed with maintaining my rank. Our parents were proud of our academic achievements, but wished we weren't so competitive with each other. "Emma, don't you think you're pushing yourself too hard?" my father asked one evening when he found me studying at midnight. "I'm fine, Dad. I just have a big test tomorrow." "You have big tests every day. When was the last time you just relaxed and had fun?" I thought about it. I couldn't remember. "I'll relax after college applications are done." My father sighed. "You sound just like Jake. His mother says the same thing about him." The fact that I was anything like Jake annoyed me. We were nothing alike. He was competitive because of his ego. I was competitive because of, well, okay, maybe also my ego, but it was different somehow. By the end of junior year, both Jake and I had maintained our class rankings, me at third, him at fourth. But something more important was happening. We were starting to think about college. I wanted to go to an Ivy League school, preferably Columbia or Yale. I wanted to study English literature and eventually become a professor or a writer. One day, I overheard Jake talking to his friends about college. "I'm thinking about Columbia," he said. "They have a great pre-med program, and New York City would be amazing." My blood ran cold. Columbia. That was MY Dream School. Jake couldn't apply there. What if we both got in? 4 more years of competing with him. I couldn't bear the thought. That evening, I confronted him in his driveway as he was getting out of his car. "You're not really applying to Columbia, are you?" I demanded. Jake looked confused. "What?" "I heard you talking about it at school. Columbia is MY school. I've wanted to go there since 8th grade. He laughed. "Your school. I don't think you own Columbia University, Emma." "You know what I mean. You can't apply there." "I can apply wherever I want. It's a free country." "But you would only apply there to annoy me." "Actually," Jake said, his expression becoming serious, "I'm applying there because it's one of the best schools in the country. It's in an amazing city, and it has the programs I want. Not everything is about you, Emma." I felt my face turn red. He was right, but I didn't want to admit it. "Fine, apply there, but I'm going to get in and you're not." "We'll see about that," Jake said, grinning. Great. Now we were competing for college acceptances, too. Chapter 10, Senior Year. Senior year was supposed to be fun and relaxed. For most students, it was. For Jake and me, it was the most stressful year yet. We were both student council members. I was secretary, he was vice president. We were both in multiple AP classes. We were both applying to the same top universities, and we were both determined to be valedictorian. The valedictorian spot ultimately went to Chen Wei, the brilliant student who had been ranked first since freshman year. The salutatorian spot went to Jessica Martinez, who had been ranked second. But Jake and I were listed as co-third in the final rankings, which meant we tied. Neither of us was happy about sharing that distinction, but at least we hadn't let the other win. College application season was intense. I applied to 12 schools, including all 8 Ivy League universities plus some other top schools. Jake applied to a similar list. We both worked obsessively on our essays. our test scores, our recommendations. Have you heard from any schools yet? Sophie asked me one day in March as we sat in the cafeteria. Not yet. I'm so nervous. What if I don't get in anywhere? That's impossible. You have a 4.3 GPA, perfect test scores, and amazing extracurriculars. You'll get in everywhere. What about Jake? I asked, trying to sound casual. What about him? Has he heard from anywhere? Sophie gave me a knowing look. Why do you care? I don't, I'm just curious. Sure you are, Sophie said with a smirk. For someone who hates Jake Morrison, you sure spend a lot of time thinking about him. I do not. You literally just asked about his college acceptances. That's different. We're competing for the same schools. It's strategic intelligence gathering. Keep telling yourself that. I didn't understand why Sophie kept implying there was something between Jake and me. There wasn't. We were enemies. That's all we'd ever been. In late March, the acceptance letters started arriving. I got into Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Stanford. Every school accepted me except one, Columbia. I was waitlisted at Columbia. I was devastated. Columbia had been my dream school for years. I had written passionate essays about why I wanted to go there. I had visited the campus. I had imagined myself walking through the gates and sitting in those classrooms. And now I was waitlisted. Not rejected, but not accepted either. Stuck in limbo. My mother tried to console me. Honey, you got into Harvard. Harvard? That's incredible. I know, Mom, but I really wanted Columbia. The waitlist isn't a no. You still have a chance. But I knew the statistics. Very few waitlisted students got accepted. My chances were slim. A few days later, I ran into Jake's mother at the grocery store. Emma, congratulations on all your college acceptances, Mrs. Morrison said cheerfully. We're so proud of you. You and Jake both did so well. Thank you, Mrs. Morrison. Did Jake? Did he hear from all his schools? Yes, he got into Columbia. We're so excited. It's his first choice. My heart sank. Jake got into Columbia. My dream school accepted him but waitlisted me. That's great, I managed to say. Congratulations. Thank you, dear. I know you two have always been competitive, but I hope you both find wonderful schools that are perfect for you. When I got home, I went straight to my room and cried. It wasn't fair. Why did Jake get my dream school? Why did the universe hate me? There was a knock on my door. Emma, my mother called. Can I come in? Go away, Mom. Emma, please. I know you're upset. I opened the door reluctantly. Did you know Jake got into Columbia? Yes, Mrs. Morrison called. I'm sorry, honey. Why did he get in and I didn't? I have better grades than him. I have better test scores. College admissions isn't always about grades, Emma. They look at the whole person. And sometimes these decisions don't make sense to us. But maybe Columbia isn't where you're supposed to be. But I wanted it so badly. I know, but you have other amazing options. Harvard, Yale, Princeton, any of these schools would be lucky to have you. It's not the same, I said stubbornly. But deep down, I knew my mother was right. I had incredible options. I just needed to let go of my Columbia dream and embrace a new one. Graduation came in June. It was a beautiful ceremony held outside on our school's football field. Chen Wei gave the valedictorian speech, talking about friendship, hard work, and following your dreams. After the ceremony, there was a party on the football field with food, music, and lots of photos. I was taking pictures with Sophie and my other friends when Jake approached me. Hey, Emma, can I talk to you for a second? I was surprised. Jake and I usually avoided each other at social events. Okay, what's up? He pulled me aside, away from the crowd. I heard you got waitlisted at Columbia. How did you know that? My mom told me. She heard from your mom. Of course. Our mothers told each other everything. Yeah, I got waitlisted, I said, trying to sound like I didn't care. But I got into other great schools, so it's fine. Which one are you going to? Yale. Yale is amazing, Jake said. Congratulations. Thanks. Congratulations on Columbia. Thanks. He hesitated, then said, Look, I know we've been competing forever, and I know Columbia was your dream school. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry it didn't work out. I looked at him in surprise. Was Jake Morrison actually being nice to me? It's not your fault. I know, but still, you would have been great there. You'll be great there, I said, and I meant it. As much as I hated to admit it, Jake was smart and driven. He would do well at Columbia. Thanks, Emma. He gave me a genuine smile, not a sarcastic one, but a real one. Maybe this is good for both of us. Maybe we need to be at different schools so we can finally stop competing and just live our own lives. Yeah, I agreed. Maybe you're right. We stood there awkwardly for a moment, not knowing what else to say. Well, good luck at Yale, Jake said finally. Good luck at Columbia, I replied. We nodded at each other, then went back to our separate friend groups. That was supposed to be the end of our story. Jake and I would go to different colleges, live different lives, and probably never see each other again except during holiday breaks when we were both home. That's what I thought would happen. I was very wrong. Yale was everything I had hoped for and more. The campus was beautiful, my classes were challenging and interesting, and I made wonderful friends. I joined the campus newspaper, the debate team, and a literary magazine. I was thriving. But something unexpected happened. I missed home more than I thought I would. I missed my parents, my old friends, my neighborhood, and, weirdly, I even missed Jake. Not that I liked him or anything. I just missed having someone to compete with. Yale was full of brilliant students, but none of them pushed me the way Jake had. Our rivalry had made me work harder, aim higher, and never settle for good enough. Without Jake, I felt like something was missing. During Thanksgiving break, I returned home. My parents picked me up from the airport, and we drove back to Maplewood Street. As we pulled into our driveway, I saw Jake's car in his driveway. He was home, too. That evening, there was a knock on our door. It was Mrs. Morrison. Linda, how wonderful to see you, my mother said. Is Jake home for the holiday? Yes, he got in yesterday. We're having Thanksgiving dinner tomorrow, and we'd love for your family to join us. My mother accepted immediately. Of course she did. I groaned internally. The next day, my family went next door for Thanksgiving dinner. The Morrisons' dining room was decorated beautifully, and the smell of turkey and pie filled the house. Jake was sitting in the living room when we arrived. He had changed. He looked older, more mature. He had grown out his hair a bit, and he had a slight tan. College apparently agreed with him. Emma, he said, standing up when he saw me. How's Yale? Good. How's Columbia? Great. And that was the extent of our conversation for the first hour. We were both polite but distant, neither of us knowing quite how to interact now that we weren't competing anymore. During dinner, our parents asked us questions about college life. Are you dating anyone, Jake? Mrs. Morrison asked. No, Mom. I'm focused on my studies. What about you, Emma? My mother asked. Same, no dating, just school. You two are so similar, Mrs. Morrison laughed. Always focused on academics. You should both learn to relax and have some fun. Jake and I exchanged a look across the table. It was the first moment of connection we'd had in months. A look that said, see, Our mothers still think we're the same person. It was almost nice. Christmas break was longer than Thanksgiving. I was home for almost 3 weeks, which meant I ran into Jake frequently, at the grocery store, at the gym, at neighborhood holiday parties. One evening, I was taking a walk around the neighborhood when I heard someone call my name. Emma, wait up. I turned around to see Jake jogging toward me. He was wearing running clothes and was slightly out of breath. Hey, he said when he caught up. Mind if I walk with you? Sure, I guess. We walked in silence for a minute. Then Jake asked, how's your semester been? Are you enjoying Yale? Yeah, it's been great. My classes are really interesting and I love my professors. How about Columbia? It's amazing. New York is incredible. There's always something to do, somewhere to explore. And my pre-med classes are tough but fascinating. Pre-med, huh? So you're actually going to be a doctor? That's the plan. What about you? Still planning to study English literature? Yeah, I'm thinking about becoming a professor or maybe a writer. You'd be a good writer, Jake said. You always were great at essays. I looked at him in surprise. Was that a compliment? Thanks, you were always good at science. Thanks. We continued walking, and to my surprise, the conversation flowed naturally. We talked about our classes, our friends, our experiences adjusting to college life. It was strange. We were actually having a pleasant conversation, maybe the first real one we'd ever had. When we reached my house, Jake said, "This was nice. We should do it again sometime." Yeah, I agreed. It was nice. That night, I lay in bed thinking about our conversation. When had Jake become someone I could talk to? When had he stopped being just my annoying enemy and started being, what? A friend. The thought confused me. Sophomore year brought unexpected news. During spring semester, I received an email from Columbia University's admissions office. Dear Emma Wilson, we are pleased to inform you that a spot has opened up in our current sophomore class, and we would like to offer you admission. I read the email 3 times to make sure I was understanding correctly. Columbia was accepting me off the wait list, not for freshman year, but for sophomore year. They were offering me the chance to transfer. I stared at my computer screen, my mind racing. Columbia, my dream school. They were finally accepting me. But I was happy at Yale. I had friends, professors I loved, involvement in activities I cared about. Could I really leave all that? I called my mother for advice. That's wonderful news, honey, she said. What are you going to do? I don't know. Part of me has always wanted to go to Columbia, but I love Yale. And if I transfer, I'd be starting over, new friends, new activities, new everything. Those are all good points. What does your gut tell you? My gut says I should stay at Yale. Columbia was my dream when I was 17, but maybe Yale is my reality now, and it's a good reality. Then I think you have your answer. I declined Columbia's offer. It felt right. I had moved on. But I did mention the offer to Jake during our summer break, when we ran into each other at a neighborhood barbecue. You got into Columbia, he asked, surprised. Why didn't you transfer? Because I'm happy at Yale. Columbia was a dream, but dreams change. Jake looked at me with something I couldn't quite identify in his expression. Respect, admiration. That's really mature of you, Emma. I'm impressed. Don't be too impressed. I'm still going to beat you at whatever we compete on next. He laughed. There's the Emma I know. But the strange thing was, I wasn't sure I wanted to compete with him anymore. Junior year was when everything changed. Both Jake and I were home for winter break, and our mothers decided to throw a joint New Year's Eve party for the neighborhood. I arrived at the party wearing a dark blue dress that Sophie had insisted I buy. I had recently started paying more attention to my appearance. Not for any particular reason, I told myself, just because I was growing up and wanted to look more sophisticated. The party was in full swing when Jake arrived. He was wearing dark jeans and a gray button-down shirt that somehow made his green eyes stand out even more. His hair was styled nicely, and he had a confident air about him that was new. Or maybe it wasn't new. Maybe I just hadn't noticed before. Our eyes met across the room, and he smiled at me. Not a sarcastic smile or a competitive smile, but a genuine, warm smile that made my heart do a weird flip. What was that about? Later in the evening, I was standing on the back porch, getting some fresh air when Jake joined me. "Hey," he said, leaning against the railing beside me. "Nice party." "Yeah, our moms really outdid themselves." "How's Yale treating you this year?" "Good, really good. I'm taking this amazing creative writing class with a professor who's a published novelist. How's Columbia?" "Challenging. Pre-med is no joke, but I love it." We stood in comfortable silence for a moment, looking up at the stars. "Emma, can I ask you something?" Jake said suddenly. "Sure." "When did we stop hating each other?" I thought about it. I don't know. Gradually, I guess. Maybe we never really hated each other. Maybe we were just kids who didn't know how else to interact. "Maybe," Jake agreed. "Or maybe we were so busy competing that we never took the time to actually know each other." "And now?" I asked, turning to look at him. "Now I'd like to think we're friends," Jake said, meeting my gaze. "Friends," I repeated. The word felt both right and somehow insufficient. At midnight, when everyone counted down to the new year, Jake was standing next to me. When the clock struck 12, he turned to me and said, "Happy New Year, Emma." "Happy New Year, Jake." There was a moment, just a brief second, when I thought he might kiss me, and the weird thing was I wanted him to. But he didn't. He just smiled and turned away to hug his parents. I stood there confused. What was happening to me? Why did I suddenly see Jake Morrison, my lifelong enemy, in a completely different light? I returned to Yale after winter break feeling confused about my feelings. I tried to focus on my classes and my activities, but I kept thinking about Jake. I called Sophie, who had become my closest college friend. "I think I might have feelings for Jake," I blurted out one evening during a phone call. "Finally," Sophie exclaimed. "I've been waiting for you to realize this since freshman year of high school." "What? No, this just happened." "Emma, honey, you've been in love with Jake Morrison since you were 7 years old. You just called it hatred because you were too young to understand the difference." "That's ridiculous. I hated him. We were enemies." Enemies who thought about each other constantly. Enemies who pushed each other to be better. Enemies who always knew what the other was doing. That's not hatred, Emma. That's unresolved sexual tension. "Sophie." "It's true. All that competition, all those arguments, that was basically foreplay." "I'm hanging up now." "Wait, don't hang up. Have you told him how you feel?" "No, I don't even know how I feel. I'm confused." "Then figure it out. Talk to him. You're both adults now. You can have an actual conversation about feelings." After I hung up, I thought about Sophie's words. Was she right? Had I been in love with Jake all along and just didn't know it? I thought back over all our years together, the way he always knew how to push my buttons, the way I always looked for him in a crowd, the way our arguments felt more like flirting than actual fighting, the way I felt disappointed when he dated other girls, the way I felt excited when I knew I'd see him. Oh no. Sophie was right. I was in love with Jake Morrison. Spring break came in March. Both Jake and I would be home for a week. I decided I needed to tell him how I felt, even though the thought terrified me. What if he didn't feel the same way? What if I ruined our newly formed friendship? What if he laughed at me? But I had to know. On the third day of break, I texted him, "Want to go for a walk? We need to talk." He responded immediately, "Sure, meet at the park in 20 minutes. I arrived at the neighborhood park where we used to play as children. Jake was already there, sitting on a swing. He looked nervous. "Hey," I said, sitting on the swing next to him. "Hey, you said we need to talk. That sounds serious." "It is serious." I took a deep breath. "Jake, I need to tell you something, and I need you to let me say it all before you respond, okay?" "Okay," he said, looking concerned. "You're kind of scaring me, Emma." "Don't be scared, just listen." I paused, gathering my courage. "I've been thinking a lot lately about us, about our history, about how we used to hate each other, or at least we thought we did, and I've realized something." "What?" Jake asked quietly. I think I've had feelings for you for a long time, maybe always. I just didn't recognize them because I thought what we had was rivalry and competition. But Sophie said something that made sense. She said that all that competition was really just unresolved tension, and I think she's right. Jake was staring at me, his expression unreadable. I continued, "I know this is weird. I know we just became friends, like actual friends, and I know I might be ruining that by saying this, but I had to be honest. I have feelings for you, Jake, real romantic feelings, and I needed you to know." There was a long silence. Jake wasn't saying anything, just looking at me with an expression I couldn't read. "Okay," I said, standing up. "You're not saying anything, which probably means you don't feel the same way, which is fine, Emma, wait." Jake jumped off his swing and grabbed my hand. "Don't go. I'm not saying anything because I'm trying to figure out if this is real or if I'm dreaming." "What?" "I've been in love with you since we were 16 years old," Jake said, his eyes intense. "Maybe longer. I tried to ignore it, tried to date other people, tried to convince myself we were just enemies. But the truth is, you're all I think about. You're the reason I push myself to be better. You're the person I want to share my successes with. You're the one I call when something good or bad happens. Emma, you're everything to me." I felt tears forming. "Really? Really? Why do you think I applied to Columbia? Yes, it's a great school. But also, you wanted to go there, and some part of me wanted to be where you were, even though I knew you'd probably hate me for it." "I don't hate you," I whispered. "I love you." "I love you too, Emma. I have for so long." And then, finally, after years of arguing and competing and completely missing what was right in front of us, Jake leaned down and kissed me. It was soft and sweet and absolutely perfect. When we pulled apart, we were both smiling like idiots. "I can't believe this is happening," I said. "I can't either, but I'm so glad it is." After spring break, Jake and I officially started dating. It was strange and wonderful and challenging all at once. We were long distance, which wasn't easy. New York and New Haven were only about 2 hours apart, but with our busy school schedules, we couldn't see each other as often as we wanted. We made it work, though. We video called every night. We texted throughout the day. I took the train to New York City some weekends. Jake took the train to New Haven other weekends. During those visits, we explored each other's campuses, met each other's friends, and fell more deeply in love. My Yale friends were happy for me, but also amused. "You're dating your childhood enemy?" my friend Marcus asked. "That's like something out of a romance novel." "I know," I laughed. "It's weird, but it feels right." Jake's Columbia friends had similar reactions. His roommate told me, "Jake talks about you constantly. Like constantly. It's annoying but also kind of cute. Our parents were thrilled. Our mothers had been hoping we'd end up together since we were children, and they were very smug about being right all along. We always knew you two would work it out eventually, Mrs. Morrison said with a knowing smile. You two are perfect for each other, my mother agreed. You balance each other out. Summer break was heaven. Jake and I spent almost every day together. We went on proper dates, dinner, movies, concerts. We had deep conversations about our dreams and our fears. We kissed under the stars in his backyard. We made up for all the years we had wasted fighting. I wish we had figured this out sooner, I said one evening as we lay on a blanket in my backyard, looking up at the sky. I don't know, Jake said thoughtfully. Maybe we needed all those years of competition to become who we are now. Maybe we had to grow up separately before we could come together. That's very philosophical of you, Dr. Morrison, I teased. He had recently decided he definitely wanted to be a doctor. I'm not a doctor yet. I still have medical school after undergrad. You'll get in wherever you apply. You're brilliant. So are you. What graduate programs are you looking at? I'm thinking about MFA programs in creative writing. Maybe NYU or Columbia. Columbia has a great creative writing program, Jake said, squeezing my hand. You should apply there. Only if you promise not to compete with me anymore. I promise. Our competing days are over. Now we're on the same team. I smiled and kissed him. Team Morrison-Wilson. Or Wilson-Morrison. We can hyphenate. Are you proposing to me, Jake Morrison? Not yet, he said, grinning. But eventually, definitely eventually. Our senior year of college was bittersweet. We were both excited to graduate, but sad that our college years were ending. We also had to make decisions about our futures. Jake applied to medical schools all over the country. I applied to MFA programs in creative writing. We both knew there was a possibility we might end up in different cities, which was terrifying. What if you get into Harvard Medical School and I get into UCLA's MFA program? I asked Jake one evening during a video call. What do we do then? We make it work, Jake said confidently. Emma, I'm not losing you because of geography. If we end up in different cities, we'll do long distance. It won't be forever, just a few years until we're both done with school. You'd really do long distance for me. I'd do anything for you. Don't you know that by now? Fortunately, we didn't have to test that commitment. Jake got accepted to Columbia's medical school, and I got accepted to Columbia's MFA program in creative writing. We were both going to be in New York City. Is this fate? I asked Jake when we found out. I don't believe in fate, Jake said, but I do believe we're supposed to be together, and I'm grateful the universe is making it easy for us. We graduated from our respective universities in May. My parents and Jake's parents all attended both ceremonies, taking what felt like a million photos. We're so proud of both of you, my mother said, hugging both Jake and me at the same time. You've accomplished so much and you've found each other. It's perfect. That summer, Jake and I moved to New York City together. We found a small but cozy one-bedroom apartment in Manhattan that we could afford by splitting rent and living frugally. Moving in together was a big step, but it felt natural. We already knew each other so well, all our annoying habits, all our quirks, all our routines. We fit together perfectly. Jake started medical school, which was incredibly demanding. He was studying constantly, working at the hospital, attending lectures and labs. I started my MFA program, which involved workshops, writing assignments, and teaching undergraduates. We were both busy, but we made time for each other. Sunday mornings were our time. We'd make breakfast together, read the newspaper, and just enjoy being together without the pressure of school. One Sunday morning, about 6 months after we'd moved in together, Jake said, "Emma, can we talk about something?" "Sure, what's up?" He looked nervous, which was unusual for him. "I know we're both in school and money is tight and we're both stressed, but I've been thinking about our future, about our long-term future." "Okay," I said, my heart starting to beat faster. "I love you. I've loved you for years, even when I didn't fully understand it. And I can't imagine my life without you. You're my best friend, my partner, my everything." Jake got down on one knee, and I realized what was happening. He pulled out a small velvet box. "Emma Wilson, will you marry me?" I started crying immediately. "Yes, of course, yes." He slipped the ring onto my finger, a simple but beautiful diamond ring that must have cost him months of saving. "It's not much," he said. "When I'm a doctor and making actual money, I'll get you a bigger one." "I don't want a bigger one," I said, kissing him. "This one is perfect because it's from you." We got married a year later, in a small ceremony in our old neighborhood. The wedding was held in the backyard of my parents' house, under a white tent with flowers everywhere. All our old neighborhood friends came. Sophie flew in from California where she was working as a lawyer. All our college friends came. Our professors came. The backyard was full of people who loved us and supported us. I wore a simple white dress. Jake wore a dark gray suit. We wrote our own vows. When it was my turn, I said, "Jake, when I was 7 years old, I decided you were the most annoying boy I'd ever met. And I spent the next 10 years trying to beat you at everything. But what I didn't realize was that you were also the boy who pushed me to be better, who challenged me to think bigger, who saw my potential even when I didn't see it myself. You were my rival, then my friend, and now you're my love. I promise to support your dreams, to laugh at your terrible jokes, to beat you at board games whenever possible, and to love you with everything I have. Forever." Jake laughed through tears at the board game comment. Then it was his turn. "Emma, you've been in my life for as long as I can remember. You've been my competitor, my equal, my inspiration. You made me want to be smarter, work harder, and aim higher. But more than that, you made me want to be a better person. You saw me, really saw me, in ways no one else did. I promise to support your writing career, to give you space when you need it, to bring you coffee when you're on a deadline, and to love you through every chapter of our story. This one and all the ones to come." We kissed and everyone cheered. It was perfect. At the reception, our mothers gave a joint speech. "We knew these two would end up together," Mrs. Morrison said with a huge smile. "Even when they were 7 years old and fighting in the treehouse, we knew. They just needed time to figure it out themselves," my mother added. "But we're so happy they finally did." Later, Jake and I danced our first dance as husband and wife to a song we had chosen together. As we swayed to the music, I looked around at all the people who loved us, at the backyard where we had played as children, at the houses we had grown up in side by side. "What are you thinking?" Jake asked softly. "I'm thinking about how strange life is. How the person you think is your enemy might actually be your soulmate. How sometimes the best love stories take years to unfold. How grateful I am that we were neighbors." "I'm grateful too," Jake said, kissing my forehead, "though I still think I won more of our competitions." "You absolutely did not." "Here we go again," Jake laughed. "We'll settle this with arm wrestling later." "You're on, Mrs. Morrison." "It's Wilson Morrison, actually. We hyphenated, remember?" "Right, you're on, Mrs. Wilson Morrison." 5 years after our wedding, Jake and I were still living in New York City. Jake had finished medical school and was now a resident at Mount Sinai Hospital, specializing in pediatrics. I had finished my MFA and published my first novel, a romantic comedy about childhood rivals who fall in love, which had done surprisingly well. We had moved to a bigger apartment in Brooklyn with 2 bedrooms, one for us and one that we were turning into a nursery. I was 6 months pregnant with our first child. One Saturday afternoon, we drove back to Maplewood Street to visit our parents. As we pulled onto our old street, I felt a wave of nostalgia. "This place looks exactly the same," I said. "Some things never change," Jake agreed. We had dinner with both sets of parents. Our mothers had prepared a huge meal. After dinner, Jake and I walked over to his old backyard. The treehouse was still there, a little older and more weathered but still standing. "Remember when we first met up there?" Jake asked. "You told me girls were annoying and kicked me out." "I was 7 and stupid." "You were 7 and scared of girls." "Same thing." Jake pulled me close, his hand resting on my pregnant belly. "Who would have thought that annoying girl would become my wife, that we'd be having a baby together?" "Not me, that's for sure. I thought I'd marry someone refined and intellectual, like a professor or a poet. And instead, you got a pediatrician who quotes superhero movies." "And I've never been happier," I said, meaning every word. Our baby kicked and Jake's face lit up. "Did you feel that?" "Yes, she's very active today." Jake asked excitedly. "We're having a girl." "I found out at my last ultrasound. I wanted to surprise you." Jake looked like he might cry. "A girl, we're having a daughter." "Are you disappointed? I know you wanted a boy." "Disappointed? Are you kidding? I'm thrilled. She'll be brilliant and beautiful and strong just like her mother. She'll probably kick you out of her treehouse when she's 7. Jake laughed. "And I'll deserve it for what I did to you." We stood there in the backyard, where we had spent so much of our childhood fighting and competing, now as husband and wife about to become parents. "What should we name her?" I asked. "I was thinking, Lily Rose Morrison Wilson." "That's perfect," I said, tears forming in my eyes. "Absolutely perfect." Jake kissed me, soft and sweet, just like our first kiss in this very backyard so many years ago. "I love you, Emma Wilson Morrison." "I love you too, Jake Morrison Wilson." "Still want to arm wrestle for dominance?" "Always." He laughed and took my hand, leading me back toward our parents' houses. The boy next door had become my husband. My childhood enemy had become my greatest love. And our story, which started with competition and arguments, had become the greatest romance of my life. Some love stories are simple and straightforward. Ours was complicated and took 15 years to figure out. But it was worth every argument, every competition, every moment of not realizing what was right in front of us. Because in the end, we got our happily ever after. And we got it together. The end. Key lessons from Emma and Jake's story. *1. Love sometimes starts as rivalry. Sometimes the person who challenges you most becomes the person you love most. Competition can be a form of connection. *2. Timing matters. Emma and Jake needed to grow up separately before they could come together. Sometimes love requires patience and personal growth. *3. Communication is everything. For years, they didn't understand their own feelings. Once they talked honestly, everything fell into place. *4. Shared history creates deep bonds. Growing up together meant they knew each other in ways no one else could. That foundation became the strength of their relationship. *5. The best relationships challenge you. Jake and Emma made each other better, smarter, more driven, more ambitious. The best partner is someone who inspires you. *6. Don't judge too quickly. Emma spent years thinking Jake was her enemy when he could have been her friend. First impressions aren't always accurate. Asterisk 7. Love evolves. What started as childhood rivalry became friendship, then love, then marriage. Relationships can change and deepen over time. Asterisk 8. Geography doesn't determine destiny. Even when they went to different colleges, they found their way back to each other. True love finds a way. Discussion questions. 1. When do you think Emma and Jake actually started falling in love? Was it in high school, college, or were they in love all along? 2. Was their rivalry healthy or harmful? Did it help them grow, or did it waste years they could have spent as friends? 3. Could Emma and Jake have become a couple earlier? What would have needed to change? 4. What role did their parents play in their relationship? Did the parents' friendship help or hurt Emma and Jake's dynamic? 5. How realistic is this enemies to lovers story? Can real-life rivals actually fall in love? 6. What does this story teach us about patience in love? Is it worth waiting years for the right person? 7. How important was it that they went to different colleges first? Did that separation help their relationship? 8. What advice would adult Emma give to 7-year-old Emma ** about Jake?